Umland and Ablak Gemara. Today's daf Shabbos is daf Samach Vov. We are actually towards the bottom of the page, and we are learning a case in our Mishnah of someone who said, if I don't pay you within 3 years, then you can take my field. And the question is whether he has the right to take the field or not. The Rishonim actually talk about why this is not. Why isn't this a case of pure ribbis? Because we're talking about a field that's worth more than what the value of the loan is. Why isn't this a case of ribbis? I lent you so much, and you're taking back something of more value. So the general idea is that this is not considered ribbis; it's considered a knas, because nothing accumulates. But the whole idea of ribbis is cumulative. There's nothing accumulates. There's no interest at all the first 3 years at all, and then after the 3 years, it doesn't continue increasing in price. There's a one-off penalty that if you don't pay cash, you lose your field. And therefore, that is, they want to say, is not considered ribbis. So, says the Gemara, Hilveyu ala soda, if you plant him on a field, Omar Rabuna, and we're going to bring a concept here. We're going to talk about the concept of a smachta. That's the whole entire Gemara of today. A smachta means literally to rely on. We'll have it in Sanhedrin, in Chav Hey, and we had it already in the past. The Machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi about a smachta. Smachta means that you're saying it, but you're hoping it'll never eventuate. You're hoping that you'll be able to come up with the money and it'll never eventuate. For example, Sanhedrin talks about gambling. When you gamble, you think you're going to win. Of course, you say that if I lose, you can have the money, but don't really mean it, because if you thought you're going to lose the money, why wasn't you gambling? Why are you there? Because you think that you're going to win. So therefore, that's called a smachta. You never really intended for this to happen. Or in this case right here, when you said, if I don't pay you within 3 years, you could take the field, you intended to pay. You just said that in order to impress. You wanted to show that person that you're so confident that you are going to be able to pay him back, that, I'll prepare to lose a field and give you, more value than what it is, but you never intended to give it. It's called a smachta. What happened was 3 years expired and you didn't have the cash. So the machlek, generally, forget about our mission. The machlek Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, such a case whether a smachta is kaina or not. Rabbi Yossi said a smachta generally is kaina, and Rabbi Yehuda said a smachta is not a kinyan because there's no kavanah. You never intended for it to go through with this. So now we're going to talk about addressing our Mishnah case here. So we're going to qualify when a smachta, even if you hold a smachta does not work, maybe sometimes it does work, and we'll see later a papa has different variations of a smachta that sometimes it works, but we can somehow or interpret your actions that you actually mean what you're doing, then it works. So let's start from here. Amar Ravuna said, it's the middle of the page. Amar Ravuna says, B'shas matan manos. If he made this deal and he said, look, at the time he gave the money, that if I don't pay you within 3 years, you can keep the field, then kona hakel, then it comes 3 years, the malva is kind of the entire field, even though the field might be worth more than the loan. Because in this case, he actually meant it. In fact, where's the kinyan? How to become the maknas? So it could very well be that because the money now, I'm saying this at the time when you're giving the money. So I got something here. So therefore, as if that is the kinyan. And he meant it because b'shas matan mois. The only reason why you gave me the loan is because I said that. It gives you some confidence. So therefore, in a way, this kind of a smachta maybe works. If after I receive the money, so really I have nothing from saying this. So why did I say this? I just want to make you feel good. Then like kana, then goes back to the regular rules of a smachta, and a smachta is not kind of like Rabbi Yehuda, which is halach. But then is something about kindness. So for example, that if let's say I lent you $500, the field's worth $2,000, then you will be kind of the field $500 worth. Which obviously, I mean, if I don't pay you cash, you can take from my field. Then you're entitled to take my bainless field, my mid-tier field. But normally, you're entitled to take my field, and until we negotiate everything else, the borrower, if he accumulates money, he can pay you back. Over here, once the 3 years kicks in, then the borrower has no way of changing anything. As soon as the 3 year mark comes up, you get the field equal to, let's say, the $500 worth of the loan. So that's what he's saying here. However, Nachman says, Nachman says, I disagree, that even after Matan Mois, had no reason to say it, but because he said it, therefore it must be that he means it, and this is not really an asmachta, and it's a valid. If he said a week after the loan, you know what? I'm going to give. Don't worry about the money. I'll pay you back. And if not, in 3 years, you can have my field, which is worth twice the amount of the loan. He means it. Says the Gemara, and therefore it's a valid kinyan. Rav Nachman, the Gaber Reish Galusa, Kishmaiti Rav Nachman, who was the Abbez and the son-in-law of the Reish Galusa, he actually not only said this in theory, but he actually came to practice. Rav Yehuda, when he came to him, that star, he tore it up because he felt it's not a valid star. It's only a smachta. It's not real. Rabbi Yehuda said to his son-in-law, Rabbi Yehuda, you know what has happened? Rabbi Yehuda, this is the famous Rabbi Yehuda, who was a student of Rav and then a Shmuel. He ripped up your star. Amalei, he said to him, Dardika Kore, you call him a child? Rabbi Yehuda is a great rabbi. So if he tore it up, he must have a good reason for it. He must have a good reason why he thought it's not worth the star, because he felt it's a smachta, and therefore he ripped it up. That's one version. But Rav Nachman sort of acceded to Rabbi Yehuda. Another version is that Rabbi Nachman actually got upset. I'm the Abbezen. He could have Amalei Dardika Kore. No, Rabbi Yehuda, it wasn't a question, it was a statement. Rabbi Yehuda, compared to me, is like a child. What's he ringing up my starter? You know, I'm the Abbezen. Anyone can be me. Compared to me, I'm the Abbezen. Anybody could be, he has a certain strength of character. I guess the two versions are arguing about the having more sight if a Talmud Chacham should have a Shminish, Begaiva. If you hold a Talmud Chacham shouldn't have any gaiva whatsoever. So even though Rav Nachman was the Abbezen, and he was very powerful, as we look many times, he threatened people, if you don't do what I say, I'll take your palace away from you. Nevertheless, he had humility, and Rabbi Yehuda was a great rabbi, so therefore he said, Rabbi Yehuda felt that way, then so be it. The other version is no, a Talmud Chacham has to have a shminish, has to have a certain stolzkeit, has to have a certain strength of conviction, and therefore he said, Rabbi Yehuda, compared to me, when it comes to dinim, is a dardike, and ignore what he did, because he had that Shmini Shebeshminis. Even though there's a famous word from the Vilna Gaon, that Shmini Shebeshminis Shebegaiv in Gemara Saita means the 8th parsha of Breishis and the 8th pasuk, where it starts off Katointi Mikol Achsad. And one should be Katointi Mikol Achsad. Anyway, Harder on Nachman, according to this version, even so, Nachman himself changes his own mind. I feel Shasmat noise like kind of like look. Nachman changed his mind and said, "No, what? I hold that a smacht is not kind. So even if he said at the time of the loan, you know what, if I don't pay you within 3 years, you can have the property, and that gave the guy the security and gave me the money, but I never meant it. My intention was to actually repay you with cash. And therefore, even with Shasmat noise, nothing happens merely in a smachta. Okay, exactly the opposite of before. Ace Rav Nachman, so Rav asked Rav Nachman a question. It says in our Mishnah, if you give me from now on 3 years, I had a shali. If you give me from now until 3 years, then the field remains mine. Otherwise, Harei Shalai comes in 3 years and he wasn't able to pay because he wasn't able to pay. So the thing is that it's a good forfeit. I guess he forfeited the property. The other guy comes and takes the property. So what does he from here? The what? Clearly, that it works, and we don't consider this an asmachta. This happened b'shas mat mois. Yeah. So what happened here is the Malva said to the Levi, if you do not pay me within 3 years, this field is mine, and the din is it's his. We don't consider asmachta. And what it says, he said to him back, look, it's a machlekes whether asmachta is kaina. Aniyam asmachta kanya. I say that asmachta is kaina. And Yumi says asmachta like kanya. And Yumi says that asmachta is not kaina. Asmachta is not kaina. So what was even you said that Nachman the second he could be that asmachta what do you call it? You said clearly that smachta is not kaina at all, and that's a question. So how do you learn? Minyuma smachta lekanya. So minyuma is. I'm just saying that minyuma says that it's not kaina at all. A smachta is not kaina even b'shas matan minus. So what I'm not saying is that I used to argue that a smachta is kaina, and that was my original opinion. But now minyuma argued on me, and he said a smachta is not kaina, like Rabbi Yehuda, and it seemed, and I agree with him now. So I changed my mind. Because Masmacht is just saying to make the guy feel secure, but he never intended it to be that way. So the how's that answer the question? But our Mishnah clearly says that is kaina. Well, the Menyume Kashba says, okay, it says Menyume. What does that help? The Mishnah is still difficult. So we have Ibai Seimer Masnis in Rabbi Yasi. The author of our Mishnah is the one who holds a smachta is Kain, not smachta Kanya. But we pass on like Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore a smachta is not Canaan. And our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yasi. Or Ibai Seimer, I can say, the Amalei Al Mishnah is not talking about a case of a smachta because he actually said to him, "Kani ma'achshav, if I don't pay you in 3 years, not the pshat is then the field goes over to you because that means it's only a smachta and he was hoping he never had to give the field. He's saying if I don't pay you, then it's your field from now, which basically means that I'm converting the loan into a sale, and therefore because I'm converting the loan to a sale, it's not a smachta. I'm selling you the property as of today. So the money that you gave me was payment for this property." The field is worth a lot more than the money that he gave him. I'm giving you a discount on the field as a sale. There's no loan here anymore. It's a sale. So therefore, that's not considered a smacht at all. And regarding the fruits, we already had the machlekes before. If it's tzadech or beribas, Rabbi Yehuda says that tzadech, if it's possible to come to ribas, it's possible not, because if he pays cash, there's no ribas at all. So therefore, because the possibility that it comes to ribas, the possibility that it won't come to ribas, so there's no ribas here at all. So then the mal was allowed to eat the fruits, and which is the malva happens to be the buyer of this property. And according to the Rabbanon, we don't believe it could be that it's ribas, it's considered ribas, so nobody eats the fruits. Remember, they gave the fruits to a third party. Anyway, that two children, which in Aramaic Yenuka means young and Shisha means old. So Tesis and Rabasi brings two opinions. Who was the older one? Are we talking about the kids? This is being Yenuka be the younger one, and she's the older one, but then Tesis the problem with that. So why is Yenuka's name first? So the other version is my Yenuka was born of Chizda was young. And Makshish was born of Chizda was old, so Yenuka was actually older. Anyway, the children of Chizda said to Ravashi, Hachi Amin Adoy Meshmer Nachman, and Adoy that said Neir Nachman, Hi Asmachta. This they said the following thing, which is a bit ambiguous. And the question is what exactly Rav Nachman meant. This is what he said. Hi Asmachta, this Asmachta, Bizimne. Let's say, he comes up to the 3 years, the due date when it was supposed to have happened, Tanya. And let's say he didn't pay the 3 years, and on a certain date, he was supposed to pay on Hey Siva, on Hey Tammuz, let's say, and he didn't pay. And then Tanya, then the lender will be kind of the field. However, but let's say before the time, like Kanya, he's not kind. If before the 3 years expired, then the lender is not kind of the field, which is very difficult to understand. Any agreement we have, if before the time the agreement is supposed to take place, obviously nothing happened yet. What's he talking about? A smachta and anything else different? Says the Gemara. Anything else? Anything else works the same way. What do you tell me? I said that's smachta. So the Gemara, maybe in fact this is what Rav Nachman meant. So this is Rav Ashi saying to Mayanuka Makshisha, maybe you misunderstood Rav Nachman, and I'll tell you what Rav Nachman meant. Dilma Hachi Kamrita, this is what he said. Ashkasei, if the labor happened to meet the malva, the guy Zimna, the labor met the malva before the due date, and he said to him, Kni, you know what? I'm not going to have the money. 6 months to go, but I can see where I'm not going to have the money. Keep the field. Then Connie. Then he's kind of wanted. Definitely, this is not a smacht anymore. Why do you have to volunteer them that 6 months or at least less time to raise the money? So surely he meant it, and it's not a smachta, and he's going with das. His intention now definitely is to give it over, because otherwise, why say anything? He's got plenty of time up his sleeve. If after since it's an asmachta, remember we're saying Ram Mishnah follows up Yesi holds a smachta kaina. So if you hold a smachta is not kaina. So then that means if he holds Magna Kaina, then come 3 years, the field does not automatically get transferred to the Malvaro. And because Mach is not Kaina. So if he said it to him before the time is up, that's no longer a smachta. Why did you say it? Obviously he meant it. But if he said after time is up, it means nothing. Because that's smachta. Why say anything? Don't say anything. My time of Machmas Kesufa de Gamale. He was embarrassed. He met the guy in the street and he had to pay. It's right 3 years since he borrowed the money. So the Barry said, you have a field, you know what you have to do. But remember, the field is worth a lot more than the loan. So it doesn't mean anything. It's still under the realm of an asmacht. Says the Gemara, but the truth matter is not correct. It's still considered a smachta. I feel even before the due date, we meet him and he says to him, perchance, and he says to him, by the way, that field, I don't have the money, you can keep the field. It's still considered a smachta. Why? Why did he tell him you should go ahead and be kind? Because he thought, okay, when I said you be kind, I mean kind now. I meant kind when the 3 years expire. Like, listen, the guy won't come and bother me. He thinks that lender thinks he has the field. He won't bother me for a while. Gives me more time up my sleeve to find money. So he didn't mean it either. Still in the realm of a smach. Omar Papa comes along the Papa and he says, "Hi, smachte." This idea of a smachte zimnin kanye, but zimnin like kanye. Sometimes we say it's merely a smachte, and sometimes we say that it's not a smachte. It's more than a smachte. It's actually a proper kinyan. Ask yourself, for example, if you find the borrower, and the question is, how do we interpret the actions? If you find the borrower, come to do that. Because Shasi Shikra, he's sitting there in the bar and he's drinking beer. That means he doesn't have a worry in the world. Connie. That means, why does he have a worry in the world? Because he's given up already. He thinks that's it. You're going to have the field. I don't have to worry about raising money. But if you see him out there trying to raise money, that means he doesn't want the guy to have the field. So then it's still the realm of smachta, is not kind of like Connie. So we interpret the fact that he's sitting there so calm must be that he gave up already on the field and he thinks, listen, I don't know, I owe him $100. He'll take the field worth $1,000. So be it. Who said, how do you know to interpret his drinking? Who said the drinking is because he already gave up and he's just sitting there relaxed? Or the drinking is because he's so worried, he's trying to raise money, doesn't know where he's going to get the money from. He doesn't want to give the guy the field because the field is worth a lot more than the loan. And to drown his sorrows, he's drinking. Not because he's relaxed. Or maybe he's relaxed. Maybe Taki is relaxed, not drowning his sorrows, but somebody else already promised to pay out the loan for him and lend him the money. So you cannot interpret the action that way. I'll tell you how we do it. If we see that he's trying to sell articles, items that he has, and he's not negotiable, he wants the full price. That means if he's desperate for money, he'll give it a discount, fire sale. There's no fire sales. Whatever he's selling is goods. He wants full price. Then Vada sure, let me the watch that he's given up on the loan, because if he's desperate to pay off the loan, he'll take discount just to get the money and pay off the loan because he's trying to save his field. But his field is worth a lot more than the loan. But if he's not doing that, that means he's given up already. This loan I'm not worried about because he'll take the field and end the story. No, maybe he thinks there's another reason why he's not discounting. True, he needs the money right now and he doesn't want the field to go over, but the reason why he's not discounting is he doesn't want people to go around saying, oh, this guy's desperate, we can take advantage and buy everything from him, including his land. We don't want his properties to be devalued. Tesis doesn't like this whole shot. He thinks it's sort of a bit reverse psychology here. Maybe it's all the way around. But anyway, take another shot. Ella Papa says, if we see him selling other land, and he's not negotiable on the land, and furthermore, he's not even interested in selling land to raise money, then surely why is it kind of he needs money to convert some land to cash because he's given up. He's given up. So the Tracy wants to say when it comes to land, the difference between land and other things is people don't generally sell land. What do you call it? Papa says, Papa then goes a step further. Even though we say generally smachta, when I say something, when we know that he didn't really mean it, he's just doing it to comfort the person, so to give him some security, make him feel good, but not that his intention ever was that this will come through because he thought he'll be able to raise the money and take care of it. He's over the Papa. Nevertheless, this particular field that we discussed is considered like an apoitika. That means when the guy eventually comes to collect, okay, the field is worth $200, the loan is $100. He cannot collect the entire field, but he can take the $100 of field because you have the money from this particular field. It's like an apoitika. Did he ever tell him that you can go ahead and collect from this field? He never said that. So therefore, no, even that is like an asmachta. He has no particular rights to this field. And he asked him a question. Even if it is considered, you're saying that he would have clearly said, "Can you look at bina? You know what? If I don't pay at a certain time, you can take from this field. You know the equal value of the money." You're saying that would be a valid agreement. Your problem is that you want to take the entire field. I hold that even if you said that, is not necessarily a valid agreement. It's still a smachti because I never expect you to take any land. I was hoping that I'd have the cash and pay you back. I just told you to make you feel good. The truth of the matter is, of course, you can force me if I don't pay you on time, you can take part of my field. But it's an elaborate process we had before. You have to go make achraza, all these kind of things. It takes time. So it gives me a few more months up my sleeve to raise money. But if the agreement is a valid agreement, the day that arrives, that I have to pay you 3 years, I couldn't pay you immediately. The land gets transferred. So he's saying, as far as the land transfer immediately, that's not going to happen. You have to go through the normal process. It's still an asmachta. Ella poitige of pub. What a pub means say that if you made the field in a poitige, Ma'id Omele, he said, Lo yehelecha paroin el mezuz. He added the words that when you get paid, you will get paid from this day. Even if I pay you, even if I decide within 3 years, you know what, I'm going to pay you the $100 back. I don't have cash. Go ahead and take your field, but paying it, which is what the din is. But if I say this field you will be collecting your money from, and then I say, if I don't pay you within 3 years, you can take the whole property. But if you pay, but since halach is, that's not a valid thing. But I said, ein locha proin. Ela mesadazu, at least equivalent to the loan, you will take from this field. Taking one further, Ahu Gabra, there was a person, so we're talking about the laws of Smachta, and we can introduce a new concept here as well. Ahu Gabra, the person, a person sold to another person. Now, this particular case, Leched, is totally unrelated to the Gemara Basmachta, as we'll see, but it's a discussion between Rab Papa and Rab Achmed Dipta. So we're continuing other discussions, and goes as follows. To Rabina, Papa, Reuven sold a field to Shimon, and he took responsibility. Now, normally, if the field gets taken from Shimon, the Balchayv comes taken from Shimon, the Shimon can get from the Bainis of Reuven. Amalei but then he said, there's different tiers. There's the Buddhias, which is the lowest quality field. There's Bainis, which is the mid tier. There's Idias, and then there's Idias. Within the premium, you have the premium of the premium. So this is what the Reuben said to Shimon. If anyone ever takes your field away, we added another clause. Amalei if he says that if they go ahead and they take the field away from you, then I'll tell you that even though Minadin, you're entitled only to Bainis, nevertheless, so the buyer said, they take it from me, Magbitli, I'm going to collect for myself, I'm going to take not just the Bainis, which I'm entitled to, not even the Idis, the Idis should be used, the best of the best. On the lay, the guy negotiated back and said, look, me Idis, let me be, I'm not going to give you the best of it. I need to retain that for myself. Being make it come I want that for myself. But no, Idis. I'm going to give you from other fields that are premium. You're entitled to Bainis. I will give you premium, but not the creme de la creme. I will give you Idis. Fine. And that's the agreement they had. But what happened was, Asa Bitka came in a flood, and it ruined the best field. Shockingly, Idis. It completely ruined the best of the best field. So what Papa wanted to say, me Idis. Papa wanted to say that what? That at least you should give him from the idiots. At least give him from the idiots. So Papa said, look, I promise you idiots. There's no idiots. Here, you have to give him the idiots. That exists. The generation later, said to Ravina, I don't understand. The vendor can say to the buyer, I promise you idiots, right? And so I promise you idiots because I want to retain the best field for myself. But now that I lost my idiots, this idiot became my idiots. This idiot is not my best. So therefore, I'm no longer giving you idiots. Remember, I told you clearly I don't want to give you the best of that I have. I want to give you the next tier. Since now the next tier has been lowered, because now the best is this field that we talked about. Therefore, you're no longer entitled to it. When I said that you can take medias because I still had better fields, but now this is my best field. So therefore, you have no right to it. Says the Gemara. Now we go back to Asmachta and with Rav Papa as well. Rav Bar Shaba having Masi by Rav Kahana. Rav have owed money to Rav Kahana. He said to him, "E loy loch arayin loch employ me." You know, we talk about a field. He said, "Look, if I don't pay you by a certain time, go be my chamra. You can collect from this wine." Now, even though by a field we say it's an asmachta, because people generally don't give fields away. Especially, you don't give a field away worth a lot more money than the loan. You definitely don't do it. Why did you do it? Why would you give a field that's worth more than the loan? Only the reason did it is because you know it'll never happen. Or you're convinced it would never happen because you were sure you'll be able to pay back. So you just said it's done. When it comes to wine, um, wine is generally a commodity that people sell all the time. And because wine is a commodity that people sell all the time, so l'chayda it's not so much like a smachta, as we'll see in a minute. um, so generally, wine is not a smachta, but if I, let's say, remember we lived for the different seasons. There's wine season when the wine is much more expensive and there's a cheaper time. If at the time when it's cheaper and people sell wine, people generally do not sell their wine when it's cheaper because they know they're not getting the full price. Wait a few more months, they'll get a lot more money. So if at that time I said I'll give you the wine, knowing the price will go up, but I gave it to you now, is because I was sure it means I have to give you a lot more wine than I would if I would wait a few months. It means I'm sure that I'll never have to give you the wine in the first place because I'll definitely wait to pay you in cash. So that's why the wine here is like an asmach, as Taste of Hashem explained. So Amalei, so he said to him, I don't pay you by this and this day, collect the loan from the wine. So he thought, when do we say asmach is not kind honey when it comes to land, the land is nobody sells land. So definitely he didn't mean it when he said you could take the land. People don't sell land unless they have to. I will chamra, but when it comes to wine, wine is a commodity that you don't how much wine can you drink. It's constantly something that you sell to others. So therefore, even those I mean, so look, since wine is a product you sell, we look at wine not as a wine, look at wine as money. So therefore, it's not really a smachta. I'm just saying I'll pay you money or wine in lieu, which is like money. Shavik kesef ki kesef. Amalei Rab Huda B'Rei Rishul Papa Hachim. I'm not sure this is the name Rabbi. Call the e loikon. Whatever you say, if I don't have the money, you can take this. That's called an asmachta. Because the moment I said if, I'm not. If I said you can have this, okay. The moment I said if I don't have the money, you can have this. What am I really saying is don't worry about it. I'll have the money. So it's always an asmachta. And why in this case, why in a smachta? If it's a commodity you always sell, and because it's like I'm giving you more wine than I owe. Why? No, if I give you exactly what I owe, then that's not a smachta. But if I'm going to give you more than what I owe, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? The house by wine, I'm giving you more than I owe because I'm giving it to you now in the cheaper season, the price of the cheaper season, and not the price of the higher season where I'll get double the money. Why am I doing that? Why am I offering you so much more wine than I really should have to? I don't have to. I can wait till the due date, which will be the higher season, and pay you then with wine instead of money. I'll be paying you a lot less wine. Why am I doing it now? Because I'm sure it'll never eventuate. And that's called the smach. To call the e, that's the rule of smachta. Whenever you say, if I don't have this, you can have that, that's called a smachta. Loikoni. And our mission that says if I don't have money within 3 years, you can take the field is takana smachta, and our mission, also our mission is Rabbi Yaisi. So Nachman says, so what happened during those 3 years? Let's say the lender took the field as a security. And that's why, according to some of the Shainim, you don't need another kinyan if the land gets transferred because since it's a mashkin, I sort of have a part ownership. We had already in a few places in Pesachim and Kedushin that Rabbi Yitzchak says that a person is kind of a mashkin. You have certain rights to it. You're talking about giving it to a woman as Kedushin. So therefore, since you're already part owner because you gave it me as a mashkin, and then we say, you know what, it's no longer a mashkin. The field is yours after 3 years. I don't have to make another kinyan. That's what some are trying to say. Others are trying to say the money you gave a chatzila at the time of the loan, that is sort of the kinyan. Others say you have to actually make a new kinyan. But regardless, Nachman said, now that we say Asmachta is not koine, which means that the field at the end of 3 years does not automatically get transferred to you at all. He says, Hodar Ada, the Hodar pays. Come to 3 years, whatever it is, I pay you the cash in half years. You have to, so let's say you took the field, and now a time later I come back to you and I say, okay, give me the field back. The din is the field has to go back. And what about the paytas? All the paytas that he ate during those years since he had no right to. Therefore, it goes right back to the borrower, who is the seller, if you want to consider a seller, who would have been the potential seller. Yep, says the Gemara. Let's get back all the pages. Now, the question is very simple. The concept is mechila. There's an argument if mechila betos have a mechila not. If I thought that you're entitled to something, so therefore I said you can have it. Turned out later, you're not entitled. So my mechila was basically based on an error. What happens then? Mechila betos, is that considered a valid mechila? Or do we say like mekatos was never a mechila? Here you're saying the Malva continued eating from the fruits because we thought that the Malva has a right to this property. If I don't pay, he keeps the property. And turns out to be a smachta lekanya. He's never kanya this property. Then, but I let him eat it, the produce, so therefore that's mechila betos. Is that a good mechila or not? Ramachman said he has to reimburse the bar of all the fruits he ate, which means mechila betos is not a mechila. That's what it seems. So we're going to mother says, remember, it seems to me the sovereign Nachman's opinion that mechila betos is not a mechila. That if you're meichel by mistake, it's not called a mechila. So that's a question from another Rav Nachman to see whether that it gels or not. Itma, we learned we have a machlekes. We already had it in a map in other places, and that is a dover shaloi bola oil, something which non-exists right now. And I want to make a kinyan sell you something that's not here right now. The fruits of a palm tree, the date palm tree, it's not here yet. Is it a sale or not? And we have a machlekes like this: Hamoichet paid his dekel chavedi. Somebody sells the fruits of a palm tree to his friend. Now, say dover shaloi bola mina koina. But once it comes into the world, once it emerges, what happens then? But when I sold to you, it didn't even begin to blossom. There's nothing here at all. So there's what it is. Ravuna says, Kolzman, there's nothing here. There's no kinyan here. You can both change your mind. Before it began to bud, you can both change your mind. In other words, even the one who says an Adam makne davar shaloi bala olam, that's only when does the kinyan chal once it comes into the world? But Kolzman, it didn't emerge yet, it didn't bud. Everyone holds you can change your mind. However, but once since Ravuna holds that Adam makna dava shalom, and once they say that Tanoim are arguing something different because here it's definitely going to happen, and nothing else has to be done. The fruits blossom on their own. So therefore, he says Adam makna dava shalom. So once it emerges, you can no longer change your mind. But you can no longer change your mind because so, but when is it chal? When is the kinyan happen? Eventually, get activated only once it emerges. But cold man, it didn't bud. You can change your mind. Nachman says, "Af mishabola elam." Nachman says, even once it emerges, he holds, and Nachman says, "Ain adam makna davar shalei." Even in the case where definitely it's going to happen, like fruits of the tree, and there's nothing else you have to do to make it happen. Nevertheless, a person, it's not a kinyan. There's no kinyan at all. You can change your mind whenever you want. Nachman says, "Moedina." However, I am moed, even though there's no kinyan in. What happens if the buyer takes some of the fruit and starts eating it? Does he have to reimburse the seller? But now remember, there was no kinyan there. They both thought it was a valid kinyan. They both thought it was a transaction took place. So the buyer went ahead and started eating the fruits. When it emerged, he thought it was his tree. Turned out to be halachically it wasn't his tree. Does he have to reimburse the seller for the fruits that the buyer ate? So Rav Nachman says, he pulls the fruits and he ate it. He doesn't have to reimburse. Why? Because the other guy allowed you. This is mechila betas. You just said, Nachman said mechila betas if you're meichel by mistake. It's not a mechila. Here clearly it seems it is a mechila. What answers, Hocha hasam zevina hocha halva. When it comes to a sale, you're right. Mechila betas have mechila. This is how Rashi learns. When it comes to the sale, mechila betas have a mechila, and therefore I let you eat the fruits. That's it. You don't have to pay me. The problem over here is when it comes to a loan, it looks like ribas. Even though the guy's meichel looks like I'm getting paid more than what I lent you. I lent you the money plus I'm getting the fruits. I'm getting reimbursed the money and the fruits. So it looks like ribas. That's why it's us. So according to Rashi, the conclusion of is that Nachman holds that mechila betas is the mechila. Takes it has a different shot money here. So the Gemara continues to conclude the sugya of mechila betas. Samach Zayin Omer at the top of the page. Have you seen the kamed of Nachman? So Rabbi said, I was once sitting by Rab Nachman, and I wanted to ask him a question of I wanted to ask him, you hold that mechila betas have a mechila. Look at Aina. I know the din is if you cheat somebody and by a sixth, you have to reimburse the money, even though the guy voluntarily gave you the money. So the chayda, he was moichel it, yet since it's mechila betas, it was a mistake. He thought that was the price. So therefore, it's not a mechila. And you, Rabbi Nachman, say that mechila betas have a mechila. I want to ask him a question from my know. So then what happened was, va'oidik, and he was Madaik Chazisen, and then he went and he showed me islanders. No, we just said a word, and I said a word, and that was our whole conversation. And he right understood my question is, and right away he brought another proof from islanders. Just saying the word islanders, he brought a proof to himself, or he tried to bring a proof to himself. So interesting conversations, like the Rogatchover who just says what daf it is, and then you got to figure out what he meant. There's a story that Pinchas Hirschberg once said that when he was a young man and he was a Bokya, chief rabbi in Montreal, and he was a Bokya B'Shas, he thought to himself, what's the next thing I can achieve? And what else can I do? What can be next? I know the whole Shas word for word, but verbatim, with Rashi and Tesis. So he decided that if he can answer a question from the Rogatchover, that would be the next step up. So he found a shaila where the Rogatchover asked Remain Tzorchin. So he and Rogatchover, remember the way he all he does is he gives you a maramok and tells you what daf, you got to figure out what it is. So he went ahead and he struggled to figure out what the question was, and then he gave a whole long answer, and he sent it off to the Rogatchover. He said that a while later he got a response from the Rogatchover. It was I don't know, 2 pages or something, and all it was Maramakaim. It's not one word, just a bunch of references to all over Shas and Babli Shalmi. And he said he spent a lot of time trying to understand what the Rogatchover was trying to say until it sort of clicked. Every place in Shas where it says the word Shaitan. That's what the Rogatchover said. Anyway, you see the comment now. So he said one word, I know, and he's an analyst, and that was the conversation. Now the Gemara will explain. How do you know? The whole thing was a mistake. And the guy would say, the guy was Michael, you gave him the money, but obviously it was a mistake, and therefore he has to give the money back. So we see clearly, it's not a mechila. And he was he sort of jumped in ahead of me, and he's medayik, and he said, gave me a good look. And Chazis and Islanders, right away he said, look at Islanders. How the Islanders is a woman who's barren, cannot have children. She has male characteristics. So from the word that actually says Ayil a male ram. And over there, the thing is that if you get married her without realizing who she was, and then you realize she's not can have children and she had all the male characteristics, the whole marriage is null and void. And what happens to like the money that she put into the marriage and all that? It's a mechila and it's a valid mechila. Even though mechila b'tos, the whole thing with the tos, he thought there was a marriage going on. There's no marriage here. Nevertheless, we say that whatever it is, she's mechil the money. So we see that mechila b'tos have a mechila. The mechila b'tosi, but have a mechila. So mechila doesn't really answer the question about I know, but I'm going to show you a proof from somewhere else to support me. But now we learned how mamen is a girl who was married or by her mother or by her siblings, not by her father, but siblings underage. She can walk out of marriage at 12 years old. And a woman that abundant you shouldn't marry. I'll tell you this, like an ever under abundant added as an ever. And the islanders, this one, the islanders, ain't lehen. They don't have a ksuba. Now, first of all, they don't have a ksuba. Even those things that she inserted into the ksuba that she brought into the marriage, she doesn't yet take it back. Light paid is all the property that she brought into the marriage. The husband works on them, is entitled to the payers in return. He has to redeem her, and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, he doesn't have to reimburse her for all the payers he had, even though the entire marriage is a mekatos. The entire marriage is a mekatos. It turned out to be that she was an islandess and there was never a marriage in the first place. The also she had brought in clothing that now sort of rotted a little bit, and even though they're still in existence, he doesn't have to return them. Why? So we see from it clearly that even though there was a mechila b'tos, because she thought there was a marriage going on, that why did she happily bring them into the marriage, thinking it'll be a long-term marriage? The whole thing was a toss. They never married in the first place. Yet she was Michael. So the see is supporting me. So here we have two different rules that seem to contradict each other. I know we see mechila b'tos is not a mechila, and from islands, the mechila does have a mechila. That itself is a problem. And so the Gemara says, "Loy I know have to. No, it doesn't bother us. But loy islands nor is islands are supporting halach. Why is that? Loy to why there's no mechila, but the problem mechila to us. The yoda. The Isa, I know the Machim. When you're Michael means you had to know that you're Michael. For example, in the case of the loan, you knew the loan was $100, and I gave you a property with $500. I'll let you eat the fruits. So therefore, it's I knew what I was doing. Here, the guy had no idea. The guy or Noah had no idea that he was being overcharged. Below Islands and North Islands approved. She, even though that the marriage was dissolved, she was happy that people should know that she was married. So there's a chance that she'll get married again. Have a good day between tomorrow and Mitzvah Hashem.